So, very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 170th event of the Chennai International Center. Out of curiosity, I just Googled and tried to explore what train number 170 is. I discovered there is a train number 170 which travels from a place in Thailand called Yala and reaches Bangkok. It's a super fast train, the fastest train in Thailand. And the event number 170 is going to discuss the fastest train in India, the Vande Bharat Express. Some of us, at least I represent. Did you rig it like that? Huh? I know, I didn't rig it, it is there. But I represent a generation which has traveled. We are fans of Indian Railways for several reasons. I am going to narrate only one. We represent a generation which has traveled in the 1960s onwards in ordinary unreserved overnight, ordinary third class, ordinary second class, ordinary first class, third AC, second AC, first AC, AC chair car. 360 degree we have traveled. In second AC, even side lower, side upper, with all the discomfort, we love Indian Railways. That's another issue. But the fact of the matter is, this is one of the most unsung heroes in the economic architecture of this country, the Indian Railways. Indian Postal Service and Indian Railways are the two unsung heroes in the overall economic architecture. Some data points are mind-boggling. As of yesterday, Indian Railways carry 25 million passengers every day. And 25 million is the population of Australia. So, Indian Railways carries one Australia every day. And no holiday, no Saturday, no Sunday, Monday, every day. There are about 13,289 passenger trains, about 9,000 freight trains. There are about 7,285 railway stations. So, the sheer enormity of the task itself is something to take note of. And relentlessly they chug along every day, 24 into 7, 365, carrying passengers from one corner to the other of this country. The second important point, all of us, in fact, I was a little upset when the railway budget got integrated with the union budget. I am a great budget enthusiast. I always used to study the railway budget in a far more detailed manner than the union budget itself. But now it's all integrated. But so be it. That's not the matter for discussion today. But the fact is, Vande Bharat is not only a train, it is a movement. It's going to connect several cities. The task has only begun. Maybe it's halfway through, whatever Mr. Balya is going to take us through. But it's an amazing movement which is going to transform the entire railway network of this country. We have two gentlemen who actually eat, breathe and drink Indian Railways. Mr. Anantharaman, senior very railway official who retired in 2019. He headed the Southern India operations of the Indian Railways. He's had several distinguished sort of achievements. I'm not going through his resume, but he has spearheaded the entire railway transformation on the operations side, on the technology side, and on the process side. And he has travelled extensively, so his experience is very much visible for all of us to take note of today. Mr. M.G. Malya is an integral part of the Indian Railways because he is the general manager of Integral Coach Factory. So he is producing Vande Bharat coaches on a daily basis. How many coaches is going to produce? He is going to give us some statistics today. But I travelled from Bangalore to Chennai. It was an experience by itself. 130 kilometers per hour, fantastic food. I mean, you have to just experience Vande Bharat. So I'm not going to take too much of your time, but this is really a Vande Bharat movement for all of us next 90 minutes. The format they all know, but I'm not going to discuss that also. Without much ado, I straight away hand over the proceedings to Mr. Anantharaman, who will now conduct the event. Manufacturing Excellence, Vande Bharat.
Good evening, everybody, and particularly the organizers, the leadership of the Chennai International Center. At the outset, I want to convey my sincere and deep gratitude for having given us this opportunity to showcase the Vande Bharat story. It's indeed a matter of good fortune that we have in our midst Mr. B.G. Malya, my dear colleague for over 3 decades, who is today helming the ICF, the Integral Coach Factory, as its general manager, and is singularly responsible for delivering this prestigious and high-stake product. If you scan the history of Indian Railways, I will not take more than a couple of minutes. After that, I'll hand over the floor to Mr. Malya, who has a 45-minute presentation on Vande Bharat. Thereafter, we will have a brief discussion on the operation of the train itself, followed by an open session with the House at large. See, if you scan the history of the Indian Railways, there have been a number of important, pivotal, pioneering introductions and innovations. To name a few, the unigauge, which totally obviated the need for transshipment. Then you had the anti-telescopic steel-bodied coaches, which introduced safety into the travel process. Then the pre-stressed concrete sleepers, which provided the comfort of running. Then you had the track circuiting, which again enhanced the safety and prevented collisions from happening, because the collisions, as you all know, are the worst type of accidents. Then you had the computerized passenger reservation system, which made what earlier was a nightmare into a very easy and pleasurable process. Then you have the automatic ticket vending machines, which took care of the travelers for the short distance and the suburban travel. It's a matter of fact that 80% of Indian Railway traveling comes from the short distance suburban travel. And so taking care of that. And then you had the onboard catering. Earlier, we all used to carry our food, our baggage, our bedding and all that. But all that was with the IRCTC's innovative management of catering and bedroll systems. That became a thing of the past. Then you had something like the Casna bogies. Of course, this, as a general public, you will not feel the presence of a Casna bogie, but the Casna bogie with its floating characteristic made rail travel all the more pleasurable at higher speeds, apart from the safety factor. Then, of course, the LHB coaches, which created quite an impression. Then the Rajdhani expresses, the Shatabdi expresses. But, ladies and gentlemen, nothing that I have just mentioned caught the imagination of the people as the Vande Bharat train. It will not be an exaggeration to say that this has literally colonized the minds of the Indians and particularly the media. Not a single day when you can open your newspaper or your social media and not see an item of news, positive, sometimes negative, about the Vande Bharat. The great circus entrepreneur, P.T. Barnum, and somebody said, "What do you think of negative publicity?" He said, "There's nothing called negative publicity. Just make sure that you get my name right." So, the Vande Bharat is literally now in the canvas of human thought as far as India is concerned. And as Mr. Anand pointed out, it's just not a train anymore. It has become a brand. It has become a process. It is ushering in a new ecosystem, a new work culture with its USP. What is its USP? It's amazing speed. What is the reason behind this fabulous speed? See, I spent my entire life running trains. As the Principal Chief Operations Manager, I was responsible for running about 1,500 trains daily. Now, the speed of a train is something that is very pivotal to operations of railways, because how quickly a train clears a block section, or a particular given piece of track where there can be only one train at a time will determine how much enhanced throughput you can have. Because at the end of the day, the Indian Railways is a transportation organization. So how much of passengers you put through, how much of freight you put through, that will determine whether you have served your role in society. So now, with Vande Bharat Express being a product that is achieving or getting the attention at the highest level of the government, you see the Honorable Prime Minister himself giving a fillip to this project at every turn and corner. And mind you, sirs and ladies, probably this is the fastest project from drawing board to open line in the Indian Railways. And this will not be possible unless the management involvement there is there at the highest levels. And today that you'll see in evidence when Mr. Malya speaks. Now, I will now hand over the floor to Mr. Malya to make his presentation. After that, we'll have some discussions. Thank you.
Very good evening to all of you. I should thank Mr. Anand for a very flattering projection of Indian Railways. And I feel humbled talking in the presence of stalwarts of Indian Railways sitting here in the audience, Mr. Sriram, Mr. Swaminathan, Mr. Anantaraman. They were role model officers for people like us. And Mr. Anantaraman has already told you something about the Vande Bharat. Now I'll take you through the Vande Bharat experience. There are some general slides on Indian Railways. So we started in 1853. The precise date is 16th April 1853, which is celebrated every year as Railway Week. So we had a train running between Thane and Boribandar. 1950s, at the end of the British era, we had about 54,000 kilometers of track. And we had 89% of the share in freight traffic. Today we have grown to nearly 70,000 kilometers. And some of the figures already Anantaraman sir has covered. 22,500 trains, 25 million passengers per day. I used to talk in terms of Switzerland's, 3 Switzerlands. I think you said 1 Australia, means the same. Freight also, we have reached a level of 1,420 million tons per year. Now let us look at the fares. I don't know how many of you know. For a 2,200 kilometer journey from Chennai to Delhi, we pay only $10. Unbelievable. I don't know in the US how much it will cost. So that is dirt cheap. That is why we have those 25 million people traveling every day. Then in terms of freight, I've already told you, it's about 1,420 million tons. And we are the largest employers. 12 lakh employees. Most of you will say that very unprofessional company, how can you have so many people? But railways are labor intensive. Let me assure you that it is very easy to say, if you hand over to private sector, maybe they can manage within 6 lakhs. I don't agree. Because our assets are spread over, see what you see here is something called route kilometers. In terms of track, we have almost 1.5 lakh kilometers of track. And every foot of it has to be monitored. Not by one department. We have the civil engineers, we have the signaling engineers, we have the electrical engineers taking care of the assets which are required to run the train. And we have the operations department which runs the train for us. A train running even on a section where you have 2 trains or you have 10 passengers per train, the effort required is phenomenal. And all of you will agree that there are trains which are run only because we have some compulsions. They are not financially viable, but we run trains. So the point is, these 12 lakh people are not being wasted, they are being put to good use. That I can assure you. But again, what happens with that figure of 12 lakhs? Our wage bill is almost 60,000 crores per year. And we have a whole lot of pensioners. So the pension burden again is about 40,000 crores. So unless we earn more than about 1.5 lakh crores, it is difficult for us to generate a surplus. Investments are required because the network is growing, the expectations are growing, the speeds are growing. Speeds, you may feel what has happened. When we were kids, Taj Express used to run at 110. Today, after 40-45 years, Vande Bharat runs at 160. What is so great about it? But let me tell you, any increase in speed involves changes in the track, in the signaling system, and in the rolling stock. So these are all high investments. See, in a car, you just accelerate, you perhaps have a bigger engine, you start running faster. That cannot be done on a train. If you run a train faster, you need a superior type of signaling system because you need advanced warning for the train driver to enable him to stop the train in time. Likewise, the track which supports a train carrying 6,000 passengers per train. Where do we carry 6,000 passengers per train? Can anybody guess? Which part of the country do we carry 6,000 people per train, which comes to almost 500 people per coach? Mumbai, yeah. In fact, once we had engaged a German consultant. We told him that we have a ventilation issue on our suburban trains. He said, why do you have a ventilation issue? We said, we have 500 people traveling in one coach. He said, it's impossible. So we told him, okay, we'll give you a team of 100 people. You go to Churchgate station. So when a train comes in during what we call as peak time, office time, you count the number of people coming out from a train. He counted and the figure came to 6,000. So he said, it is right, but I have not understood how. So this is something what we call as super dense crush loading, where if you divide the floor area of the coach, the number of passengers by the floor area, it comes to 16 people standing per square meter. That is, you're standing literally like this, on your toes. Investments are going up. You can see that last year it was close to 2.5 lakh crores. Now my factory, set up in 1955, we had a collaboration with a Swiss company called Skleren, Swiss car and elevator manufacturing company. And we used to make only one type of coach, which for some reason was called a third class coach. Third class has nothing to do with quality. Third class it was a 3-tier coach with wooden berths and all that. Now, every year we produce about 70 varieties of coaches. So we have grown from one type of coach per year to 71 coaches per year. In terms of numbers, we do 3,000 coaches per year. Pre-COVID, we did 4,200. That is the highest we have done so far. We have about 9,000 employees. And totally, we have done 71,000 coaches. So, Integral Coach Factory in Namma, Chennai is the biggest coach producer anywhere in the world. So, these are some statistics regarding production. I have already told you we did about 4,200 in a particular year. What makes ICF work? So this is not a management jargon. This is actually happening in ICF. Lead by example. See, gone are the days when a GM can act like as if he's come from outer space. No, I'll not talk to you. I am a GM. No, no, no. Don't come to me with problems. Problems are yours. Credit is mine. That doesn't work. So you have to lead by example. So in all levels in the railway management today, we have people who go down to the shop floor worker. One example is here. I have seen Mr. Swaminathan work. He used to spend 9 hours out of 8 working hours on the shop floor interacting with people. So unless you give that type of leadership, you can't get magical results like this. Men are our biggest assets, certainly. IR has to improve because people expect that we should also start running bullet trains. We should also have trains which look, every train should look like palace on wheels. That is the expectation of the passenger. Team building. See, this is true for Indian Railways as well as ICF. We have a variety of departments. We have the electrical department, we have the mechanical department, we have the civil engineering wing, we have the signal and telecommunication. Unless all of them gel together, railways cannot move. Do you all agree? It cannot move unless all these people work together. So team building becomes a operational compulsion. And after some time, it becomes part of your culture. That is what has happened on railways. We have full support from our ministry. I'm not saying this to flatter my ministry sitting in Delhi. We actually get support, we get decisions within 3 days of letters reaching there. So that is the type of decision making which is happening on railways. Goals need to be aligned. We can't produce what we want, what we think is simple and will give me the numbers. Like the easiest to produce is a non-AC second class coach. I can produce 6,000 of them. That is not what the country needs. So the goals of IR and the goals of ICF have to be aligned. Now these are some of the motivational techniques which have been used by the leaders in the past, which still continue. We have something called a family tree. Post 2018, whosoever was there in ICF, he has his photograph on this wall. There is a Kutti photograph. Everybody's photograph is there. I joined on 24th of January. Now my photograph is also part of this. So that is a great motivator. Gone are the days when you lay a foundation stone and you write there, inaugurated by Mr. B.G. Malya, General Manager, and Principal Chief Engineer, Principal COM. That doesn't happen now. The inaugurations are done by people who are laying down office in the same month. In this case, a lady who actually would be using the lift, she inaugurated the lift. We wear a uniform once in a week at least. All these things, they promote bonding, team working. So these are very important. This is the symbol of ICF, the integral man. A strong man like Bahubali holding the integral design of ICF coach. I think I'll flip through this. We'll go to the Vande Bharat. This I'll just touch upon. For ideas, who is the best person? The person who is getting pinched. He is the best person. So we go down to the shop floor, find out how things can be simplified. One example. Suppose I have to lay cables in a duct. So one way is I put the duct on the coach, I take loose cables there, I push the cable, talli, cut it to size. What could be a better method? Do this in advance. Take a pre-assembled cable duct with the cables already there. These are ideas which have come from the people who are working on the shop floor. And let me tell you, by using techniques like this, the cycle time of Vande Bharat has been reduced by 15 days. Can you believe it? Earlier we used to take 60 days to produce a train. That time has now come down to 45 days. These are ideas which came from the chap who is at the lowest level. We have been making various types of what we call as self-propelled coaches. All these famous coaches which carry 5,000 people per train and all that, they have been made at ICF. Tejas, Vistadome, Antodaya. We have also exported. Of course, exports, I must share with you that our exports have been restricted to Afro-Asian countries. But now we are becoming ambitious. After what? After making the Vande Bharat. Because the Vande Bharat has put the focus on ICF that India also can produce semi-high-speed trains at a very, very affordable cost. I'll just tell you the cost figures slightly later. So we have been getting inquiries from countries like Chile, where they have a different voltage system, but the same gauge. That is our 1676 millimeters gauge. So our exports have been largely to Afro-Asian so far. The only train which runs in Nepal is manufactured by ICF. Sri Lankan trains, majority of them are from ICF. Okay. Now I'll like to know from you, what do you expect from a premium train? What do you expect? Can I ask you, sir?
Very cozy space and a comfortable air conditioning and some connectivity. That's it.
So a good ambience, air conditioning, connectivity. Sir,
Yeah, one that takes you from point A to point B the fastest and in the most comfortable manner.
so speed. Irshad sir.
All that with good value for money.
Encompasses a lot of things. Excellent. Sapad. Good sapad.
Comfortable chairs.
Sir, the focus should be on the toilets, sir. Especially two apps.
Cleanliness.
So proper spacing, sir.
Spacing between seats.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Punctuality. Okay. Safety. Toilets. Pardon? Okay. Okay. Comfort, speed, and safety. Pardon? It should be like an aircraft. Wonderful. Sir. Without much vibrations. Clean toilet. I think toilets is one very weak area. Sorry. Good windows. Madam, you had something else to say? Yes, ma'am. Okay, okay. Of course, some of them don't directly relate to the Vande Bharat. I think what you are saying is 8-year-old gentleman getting a upper berth. That too in an AC 3-tier, where it is like climbing the Mount Everest. Very difficult. Okay. Okay. I think most of the points have come out. Cost, affordability, right. So here we have tried to summarize. Safety, speed, comfort, reliability is something which I think none of you mentioned. You should reach your destination. Okay. You should reach safely. Okay. So asset reliability is important. Efficiency, some of you said punctuality. In railways, when we talk about efficiency, Mr. Anantraman will say that in 1 hour, I should be able to push so many trains through one section. I will say my electrical energy bill has to be minimum. So there are different perceptions. So efficiency in operations is important. Make in India is very important. There is no point in getting everything from Alstom, Siemens, Bombardier, and then saying this is Namma Mandi. No, you don't get any credit for that. Okay. Now this is just to tell you, a lot of you would have seen articles saying engineless train, isn't it? I think when the first train got launched, all the papers carried usme engine to dikhta hi nahi. When we say engine, we feel that there will be something in the front which makes a lot of noise, looks very powerful. So in Vande Bharat, you don't see all that. So you say that this train doesn't have an engine. But here, let me tell you, in a 16-car train, there are 4 engines. So every 4-coach unit has, can you guess how much of power packed into it? It's close to 2,500 horsepower. So the total power on the Vande Bharat is 10,000 horsepower, which is equal to 2 of these so-called engines, which are very visible because they make a lot of noise. So we have 4 units, each with about 2,500 horsepower, so 10,000 horsepower. And all these are not concentrated in one coach. See, when an engine fails, what happens? If you are between Gummidi Pundi and Sulurpeta, you remain there till somebody else comes and pulls you out. That does not happen in the Vande Bharat because you have 4 engines. And the design is such that even with 3 engines, there is no compromise on the performance of the train. You get the same speed, you get the same pickup, and basically it is unrestricted operations. And you don't have a coach where there are no lights because that particular coach is not working. You'll get lights from the adjacent coach. Yeah. I think that is what happens when you get involved in a project. Yes, sir. Thank you. So the thing at the bottom is a conventional train with the locomotives and coaches. On the top is the Vande Bharat. Now let us see whether all those points you talked about, are they covered here? It is semi-high speed. It is fit for running at 180. It has been tested. It is very stable at 180. The train can practically run at 180. But of course, in India so far, the sections have been cleared at 160. The riding is superior. How many of you have traveled by the Vande Bharat? Do you agree that the riding is superior? When the train runs at 130, you get an impression it is hardly moving. Kya yaar, bahut dheere chal rahi hai. Then you look at the speed indicator which is there just above the door. You see speed is equal to 130 or 140 or 160. So the riding is excellent. Somebody rightly said, I think sir said, infotainment. Anantraman sir. So like Vistara, we have movies which you can watch when you are inside the train. But of course, there was a demand that this language movies are missing, that language is missing. There is no end to it. Cell phone charging point. This none of you pointed out. See, when we travel on a train, there are 6 people sitting in one compartment, and there are 2 or 4 charging points. So you keep watching. Kab khali hoga. That is not there. Every seat has a charging point. Every seat has a bottle holder. Small things, but I think they make a lot of difference to the comfort component. Sapad, of course, ICF doesn't pack up the sapad. But what we have done is every coach has something called a sub-pantry. We have provided 2, 3 food warmers, and there is a bottle cooler, there is a deep freezer. So we have given sufficient storage for the food to be kept so that you can get whatever type of food you want, cold food, hot food, on the running train. So every coach has a pantry, which is something unique to the Vande Bharat. Safety. As I said, once you started a journey, you have to reach your destination. So the Vande Bharat is much safer. How many of you have heard about something called Kavach? It is called Train Collision Avoidance System. So what it does is, a train talks to the track. The track tells the train that there are more trains in the section. And when that distance between two trains comes below a certain value, brakes apply automatically. So this type of safety is built into the Vande Bharat. It is called Train Collision Avoidance System, TICAS, also called Kavach. We have a fire detection system. I don't know if you have noticed, everywhere in the compartment we have aspiration points. So there is a chap, something like a vacuum pump, sucking air samples from various locations on the coach. And when the smoke level goes beyond a certain value, it gives you a audio-visual alarm. I think I'll welcome questions in between. Is that okay, sir? Plus in areas which are not visible to the public, like toilets, electrical cubicles, we've got something called self-activated aerosol-based fire mitigation system. So if there is a fire, this chap gets activated, aerosol comes out, it sort of eliminates the fire, and the gas which is produced, it is not good for human consumption, but it is safe for human consumption. So you have a fire mitigation system in closed compartments like electrical cubicles and toilets. We have, pardon? Yeah. Yeah. So that's a very nice question. Windows would need to be opened. We have emergency windows, 4 of them inside each coach. How do you identify emergency window? You'll find a funny looking hammer kept next to it. So take out the hammer, tap the window is designed to break. So when you tap it with that hammer, it breaks. So your windows are, these 4 windows are easily breakable. No. Maybe that can come in the next stage. Okay. That could be one stage where we can automate things. We have passenger talkback points. Suppose you find something unusual happening in the vicinity. You go to a particular location, you press a button, the train driver comes to know that there is somebody wanting to talk to him. If he is free, he enables that conversation. Then you can tell him, sir, I have seen a chap roaming around with a gun here, or I can see some smoke. So this passenger talkback facility is given. It is there in all the metros, but on Indian Railways, it is the first time such a system has been provided, and that too on Vande Bharat. All metros have it. We have a very beautiful cab with air conditioning. We have gangways. What are gangways? When you move from one coach to the next coach, you would like that passage to be smooth. Today when you go, it is like this. You do something like rope walking. So you feel very uncomfortable, particularly when small kids are trying to cross from one coach to the other. You always have a fear that he'll fall down. You like it. Gives you some kicks. Okay, anyhow, here you won't like it. It is very safe. You don't even realize that you have walked from one coach to the other. So it is rainproof, soundproof, dustproof. We have doors, automatic doors. Why doors are required? Otherwise, people keep falling down for various reasons. Yes. Sir, you are, I think, an electrical engineer. So if there are no leakages in the room, your air conditioner consumes less power. See, doors are required. I feel we should have finally doors in all coaches, because the number of people who die falling down from doors, either they jump down themselves or they fall for various reasons, is very high. So railways have been hauled up in courts for not providing automatic doors. So Vande has automatic doors. And what is the safety feature in the automatic doors? Unless all doors are closed, each and every door is closed, the train cannot move. So there is a safety interlock. Again, this is common with the metros. Higher acceleration, deceleration. By the time the train leaves the platform, you are running at 70, 80 and all that. So how does it help you? If there is a speed restriction to be observed, the time lost in coming back to the normal speed is minimal. And why is this possible? Because of 10,000 horsepower. Regenerative braking. What is regen braking? It does more than that. So when the train is braking, you are feeding back power into the overhead line so that another train which is there in the same feed zone, if it needs power for acceleration, it can draw this power. Because of that, our energy bills have reduced by 30%. See, you don't have stoppages, but speed restrictions when it is observing, it has to brake. The bogie is high performance. It has a pneumatic suspension. I don't know how many of you have noticed there is a balloon kind of thing on which the coach sits. So that is a pneumatic air suspension, because of which the riding is fantastic. We have very beautiful dampers which absorb the shocks. And we have disc brakes. See, how do you brake? Standard method is, if this is the wheel, there is something which comes and presses onto the circumference and friction is produced and you brake. Otherwise, you provide calipers which grip onto the wheel. They are called disc brakes. So in the Vande, we have used disc brakes. Disc brakes, the advantage is the wheel wear and tear is reduced, because changing a wheel is very painful. I think Swaminathan sir will confirm. Changing a wheel, you have to take the train to the workshop. It is one hell of a job. So you use disc brakes where the disc material, you can replace it. See, if the disc gets worn off, you can replace it, but changing a wheel is very, very difficult. So we have disc brakes. Reliability, I have already told you that even with one unit out, it works without any loss of performance. With 2 units out, still you reach your destination. But maybe instead of running at 160, you will run at 130. Good enough? Instead of standing between Gumidipundi and Sulurpeta for hours together. And it has a very high safety certification. We can operate the train in lengths of 8 coaches, 16 coaches, 20 coaches and 24 coaches. Majority of what we have produced is 16. Of late, we have been turning out smaller trains, 8 coach trains. The features, which I have already talked about, most of them. Gangway. This is the gangway or passage between coaches. These are the automatic doors on the sides. We have very nice windows. Some of them are breakable. Yes, sir. It will be slightly smaller. The Vande will be smaller than LHB 24 coaches. You don't see any fasteners. In the trains of the olden days, you can see each screw. If there are 2 panels fitted, you will see one screw. People used to call it makhi. Looks like a fly from a distance. One makhi here, one makhi here, one makhi here. Now, it's a screwless system. Looks aesthetically very nice. We have CCTV surveillance. That is one thing I think none of us mentioned. You would like what is happening inside to be recorded. In fact, we have a very funny camera which is outside the train. Why is that camera useful to us? Stone pelters. So we were able to identify a stone pelter using these cameras which are provided on every 8th coach. First 8th, yeah.
Train, I mean, in the coaches, what about privacy of the passengers?
See here, since it is a chair car, where it is an open compartment where all 78 people are sitting, we don't consider privacy as a requirement. When we move to sleepers, maybe that would be required. In the chair cars, in the metros, privacy doesn't matter.
And do the passengers know about it?
Yes, they know. They are happy. Simple things like chain snatching, eve teasing. You have evidence, stone pelters. We were able to identify Mr. Thangavelu, student of so-and-so college. He is the person who was throwing stones on the Vande Bharat.
I just have one more question.
Yeah.
In terms of
Yes. Stone pelting is happening on some routes every second day. And our chaps are very efficient. When the train reaches the depot, the window is changed within those 5 hours we get for maintenance. But they are happening. And we are helpless. There is a chain. It doesn't look like a chain. We have a button to press. To stop train, pull chain. ऐसे ही खींचोगे 1,000 rupees fine. That is still there.
Just one question.
Yeah.
Also, you have an identification camera for stone pelters.
Yeah.
Similarly, I mean, there could be a requirement. Once you identify the range and things like that, like you have an automatic water sprinkler, can you spray and then get that fellow out? Yeah. I mean, isn't it?
Yes.
So,
That can be added. But of course, it means a lot of hardware.
Either a smoke or a water.
Yeah. Yeah. Possible. They get caught because of these cameras.
so
But of
but
course, night time, if somebody is pelting stones, we can't find out who is doing it.
so with so many stone pelting incidents, here, sir, on your
Yeah.
left, with
Sir.
so many stone pelting incidents, has there been any rationale as to why this is happening? Because it looks absurd from a normal citizen
We don't
perspective.
even attempt to find out why it is happening. It is not within railways purview.
but the railway
It is
protect-
for people like enlightened people like us to counsel the people who are doing all this. What do you get out of this? Why are you doing it? Mat kar yaar, chhod de. Sabhi ki gaadi hai. This is not only Indian Railways
Correct,
train,
yeah.
it is your train.
Concept built for a moving train. Now the concept built even the quick train itself.
Huh.
That's also happened.
Yeah. So we have bad elements everywhere.
Even the quick train in the night, it's very difficult to identify.
Questions later? Okay. So we have an emergency window. Sir, you had asked about emergency windows. We have emergency windows. Madam, alarm push button. Instead of to stop train, pull chain, alarm push button. We have indirect lighting. We have mobile charging. We have chairs which are reclining. In the business class, we have chairs which can be turned around 180 degrees. This is that passenger talkback unit, which I told you about. We have snack tables. We have these emergency lights, which work even if there is an accident and all the coaches are piled up, still these lights will work for about 9 hours. We have bottle holders. We have a mini pantry. We have this train collision avoidance system. We have lights on the luggage racks, like in aircrafts. The cab is very beautiful. So I'll invite all of you to come to ICF and see the coach under manufacture. On a moving train, you'll not be allowed to go into the cabin for obvious reasons. Fire mitigation system, I've already told you. We have, when you want to enter the passenger space, there is a door there which is approach activated. We have fire detection, which I've already spoken about. We have a onboard Wi-Fi, infotainment, CCTV surveillance, talkback, this beautiful looking bogie. These are the pneumatic secondary suspensions. We have automatic doors, disaster lights.
The infotainment, can I suggest one thing? We can keep a camera in front of the driver.
cabin. So the movement of the train can be viewed by sitting there itself.
That is there, sir. The driver can watch what is happening in the rear cabin and what is happening ahead of him.
We passengers by sitting infotainment. So we want to see the train move.
You want to see the track. Okay.
We want to keep the camera in front of the train.
Possible, sir. Possible. Yeah. So this is the manufacturing process. This is the undercarriage of the train. This is the sidewall. In fact, sidewalls, when Sir was there, we were manufacturing our own sidewalls. Now, when our production went up, we were forced to buy a complete sidewall as a prefabricated assembly from trade. So the philosophy has changed. We have robotic machines for the welding. Bogies, we are getting pre-assembled bogies. This is all to reduce the cycle time. This is a complete car body without the interiors being lifted to the next stage. This is the manufacturing happening inside the assembly shop. All this you can see when you come to the factory. This is what we call as the pantograph. So we have 4 pantographs here because there are 4 units, so 4 pantographs. The window is continuous. You would have seen that you don't see a gap between windows. That is just for improving the visual appeal. This is the undercarriage electrical equipment being assembled. This is a machine called a traverser, which is used for moving the coach from one stage of work to the next stage of work. We do a rain shower testing inside ICF. We've got a facility for that, just to see if the roof leaks anywhere. This is a train under commissioning. We've got a 25 kV line inside the shops. We've got a track outside where even the Kavach system is tested. This is the infrastructure which was added for the Vande Bharat. Our stores are very modern now compared to my earlier stint when I was in ICF in the 90s. We've got ASRS systems now. A very modern looking store shed. As I told, we are buying sidewalls as assembled kits. We are buying cable ducts with the cables already there. These are some of the performance indices. The time taken from start to reach a speed of 160 is less than 130 seconds. Regeneration is 30 to 35%. Acceleration is not mentioned here. It is 0.72 meters per second, which is very high. It is comparable to the metros. See, in a metro, you have a station practically every kilometer. If you peep out, you can see the next station. In the Vande, we give a high acceleration. I told the reason that when there is a speed restriction to be observed, the time required for coming down to that speed and then getting back to the high speed should be minimal. So acceleration and retardation are very high. Sir.
Just explain that to them. Why this is the most important thing. See, the USP of Vande Bharat is its fast acceleration and deceleration. Now, I'll give you an example. A 24-coach train, which is meeting a 30 kmph speed restriction for track maintenance, will take 8 minutes to drop from its maximum speed of 110 kilometers, come to 30 kmph, traverse the distance of not only the engine, but the last coach. The entire stretch of the speed restriction, which will be about a kilometer, and then pick up the speed back to 110. This entire parabola will take 8 minutes. In Vande Bharat, it is taking 4 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Acceleration and deceleration being high. I'll just add to what Anantharaman sir said. I'll give you the value. In a loco haul train, the acceleration is about 0.3 meters per second. On the Vande Bharat, it is 0.72. So 2.5 times higher. Yeah. I think most of the things I've already talked about. Ride index is 3.26, which is the lower the better. The ride index, the lower it is, the better. So ride index is very low. Okay, this is one feature. We have a air conditioning system where there is a ultraviolet light which reduces the impurities before pushing the air into the AC duct. You can monitor all 16 coaches from the lead coaches. So there is a centralized monitoring system. This is the track just outside ICF. These are the routes on which Vande Bharats are running today. There are 25 routes. And other than the northeastern states, I think this is something to be celebrated. We have a Vande Bharat in all states. The northeastern states, the reason being, they are not electrified. That is the only reason. The day they get electrified, we'll be ready to push a Vande Bharat. So all states have got Vande Bharat. This, yeah. Yes, sir.
Shivara IC bogie with mechanic suspension, heading index was less than 2. But the advanced air suspension, heading index is 3.25.
I don't know. I'll have to check that whether it was less than 2. I'll check it out. But
Heading index only gives more comfort to the passengers.
pardon?
Because of heading index, gives more comfort to the passengers when traveling for a long time.
But I don't know, sir. Swaminathan sir, was it 2?
Sir, what are the question? Question is not clear.
No, what? See, I told that a lower ride index means better riding. So what he says is the Swiss technology which came to us in 1955. There the ride index was 2, which I don't have the information with me. I don't think it is correct. I'll get it checked out. He says after spending so much money on air springs and better quality of shockers, if you are getting only 3.2, what is the use? You had those traditional springs. With that, you are getting 2. Sir, I'll have to check out that information. I don't think it could be 2. Otherwise, why should railways spend so much money?
Land coach heading index was 1.8. ICF originally landed.
Sir, unfortunately, I don't have the information with me. I can't comment on that. But I am very sure it was not 2. Otherwise, why should railways spend so much money on improving the suspension on the primary side, better quality of shockers? Pardon? So 3.25 is not good enough on the Vande Bharat. Right, sir. Okay, I don't have the information to comment on that. So this is a map of, this is a Vande Bharat map, basically where all trains are running. This is the new scheme, orange. Does it look good? Thank you. It looks good. We should not debate why this, why that. It stops with, it looks good. It looks like a TGV train. I think most of us will agree. So you have the Anna and Tambi standing next to each other. Of course, the white also looks good. The advantage with white is it is striking in any backdrop. If it is running through Kerala, if it is running through the Rajasthan desert, everywhere you can spot the train from a distance. 2 social issues, I think I've already talked about one, where I'll request for support from you. One is Mr. Buffalo. Domesticated cattle are let onto the railway track for grazing. Probably very inhuman to say that, because they are not productive. And the owner does not mind the cattle getting killed. Very inhuman, but it is happening. But what it does to a train is something we should worry about. There have been cases when the train was stranded in the section for an hour and a half, because this type of damage is going to affect. Most of the cases, it doesn't affect the running of the train, except for the need for doing a nose job at the earliest. Okay. This is problem number 2, Mr. Stone Pelter. So as I think, sir, you asked, what are we doing about it? So we have not been able to counsel the buffaloes. We are not able to counsel the stone pelters. In fact, the buffaloes, I have seen articles saying that the Vande Bharat kills one more buffalo. You get a feeling that the driver saw a buffalo in the fields, it went after the buffalo, came off the track, killed it, and came back to the track. That is not the case. These are buffaloes, domesticated buffaloes, which were allowed to graze near the track, which is criminal. And the reason I told you.
Excuse me. The stone filters,
Yeah.
their target is the window glass panel.
Yeah.
So like when you hit a tennis ball on the wall, how it hits back? Maybe a technology will come in a day. If somebody hits the ball, it will be hit back.
I was exactly saying that.
For the lookout glass, we do a ballistic test for the lookout glass. Because a driver's safety is very, very important. Not that the passenger safety is not important. In all these cases, the window breaks, but in no case the passenger has been hurt. Because we have a double layer of glass, and the glass is hard enough to absorb the impact. But in the case of the lookout glass, which is there for protecting the driver, we do a ballistic test. So it is much safer. But you can't provide ballistic windows in the entire train. So we are getting into coefficient of restitution. So these are two problems I want your help, because counseling is the only way out. This is what happens. It spiders. It doesn't hurt the passenger. Then what is the future? Sir, do we have another 5-7 minutes?
Yeah, then Anandaraman has to sit in.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll quickly run through this. Next is the sleeper version. You would like Vande which runs on longer routes, 1,500 kilometers. Today, the Vande typically goes for a max of 800 kilometers, so that it can come back on the same day. So we'll have a sleeper version getting launched in this financial year. It will be a 16-car train with 11 AC 3 tiers, 4 AC 2 tiers, 1 first AC. It will have all the features of the Vande Bharat. And Railway Board has already finalized, this information is old now, 200 trains have been ordered by Railway Board. Parallelly, ICF is working on 10 sleepers independently and 10 sleepers through Bharat Earth Movers. So all these things will come soon. This is what the train compartments will look like. Don't they look good? Now it is easy to say you would have downloaded something from internet. But our train will look better than this. So here I have covered all of them. There is the next version called the Vande Metro, which is a replacement for the trains which are used for intercity travel, what we railway people call as the mainline EMU. That is called the Vande Metro. It will be an air-conditioned train, max speed 130, and we'll have the same type of acceleration so that the running time reduces. We have Vande Suburban for 500 passengers per coach. They'll also be air-conditioned. Of course, the air conditioners will be huge, because the occupancy levels are very high. We have, sir, your question, Vande Freight. So in fact, ICF has started working on it. Our car bodies are already produced. We'll be producing a Vande Freight train this year, which will have a max speed of 130. That is the main revenue for railways. It will be used for e-commerce type of traffic. You can't carry coal, obviously. It is a covered coach. So you can carry electronics, clothes, maybe perishables. Then next is aluminium car body Vande Bharat. That is also going to come very soon. 100 trains being ordered by the Ministry of Railways. The last one is a train which the genesis behind this was, see, the rich people have the Vande Bharat. What about the common man? So we are producing a train, a non-AC train with all 22 coaches which will be non-air conditioned. You will have a loco in the front, you will have a loco at the rear end, and you will have the same performance level as the Vande Bharat, but max speed will be 130. Because beyond 130, the noise and dust levels are so high, you need to have sealed windows. Sealed windows means air conditioning. Okay, so this is going to happen in October. This October, you will have this poor man's high-speed train. Common man's, I should not say poor man. This I've already told you. Intercity travel. This is going to look like this. This frontage has been approved by the minister when he came here last Saturday. So the Vande metro will look like this. This is the train I told you about. The push-pull train for the common man. You will have locos at either end. We are providing doors there so that people don't fall off. Okay, I think I'll stop now. Thank you.
Thank you, Malya. That was an outstanding presentation, and I think the proof of the presentation is the fact that the amount of interaction was so spontaneous, enthusiastic, and the amount of interest that this entire product generated is great. Now, the railways, as I mentioned in my remarks, is basically in the business of transportation. So any product has to segue into that concept of transportation. Only then it can sustain and grow. Now, in what way is Vande Bharat a paradigmatic change? See, today on Indian Railways, we don't have dedicated lines either to run freight or passenger. We run all the mixed traffic on the same track. So now imagine if a Vande Bharat Express is running at 130 kmph on Southern Railway, and on North Central Railway it's running at 160. When it runs at that speed, it's traveling very fast. The Indian Railways works on two systems of operation. One is the absolute block system. The other is the automatic block system. As per the rules, absolute block system, between two signals of a station, between contiguous stations, there can be only one train at a given time. So what happens when Vande Bharat Express travels at that speed, you have to perforce keep two station blocks free. Otherwise, what happens? No safety problem. Absolute block system is absolutely safe because the driver will have to obey the aspect of the signal and stop. But all this money that you spent in achieving this fabulous acceleration will be lost. The fellow will travel very fast and stop. I remember we used to have this discussion with Mr. Venugopal when he was the editor of Business Line. Why trains can't travel fast one after the other? The reason is the speed differential. Your freight train carrying a trailing load of 3,500, 4,000 tons will achieve a balancing speed of only about 30 to 40 kmph. Whereas Vande Bharat is traveling at 130. So today, if you notice, all Vande Bharat trains will leave first. Because when a Vande Bharat train clears the block section that much faster, you're making room for another train. But it will take away paths on the next adjacent advanced stations. So the operating challenge is to run Vande Bharats in a corridor. Today, we do not have that many services. Like for instance, there's only one Vande Bharat to Mysore, one Vande Bharat to Coimbatore, and the other one is in Kerala. So today, the operational constraints are not that much. The moment the first Vande Bharat goes off, then you can run your normal operations. So this is a challenge for the Indian Railways. So how are you going to overcome this? As what Malya mentioned in his talk, if you are going to have your low fare trains also running at the same speed, then you are increasing the corridor capacity in terms of throughput. That is the biggest challenge. Because if you can't do that, all your investment will not be economically beneficial. It will be a showpiece, that's about it. But that's not the point. As somebody said, freight is the biggest netter of revenue for the. But one thing I want to tell you in this, I'll just throw a question to you. You can tell me what you think is. Well, how much does the Trivandrum Kasargod a train, Vande Bharat train, earn per trip? Any guesses? Just guess. Full capacity.
1,200 people sitting inside. out of which about 120 in business class, rest in.
4.5 lakhs. 4.5 lakhs. You're very close. It is 20.43 lakhs. I checked the figures before I came to the talk. 20.43 lakhs. Tirunelveli Madras Express, that is Tirunelveli Express, going full, 24 coach train, earns 9 lakhs. But tell me, which gives me money? The Attipattu, that is where the port is, to Mettur Dam, where the generating point is, where I run about, I used to run, I don't know how many they are running now, 7 box rakes, each box rake carrying about 3,500 to 4,000 tons of coal. How much does that get me? Any guesses? 37 lakhs. So the Indian Railways can't help running freight. They have to run. Right? Now, Vande Bharat freight will be able to take care of a segment which has totally gone out of the railways. Today, the railway is only a carrier of minerals, ores, steel, and all these heavy, grade 1 commerce. That is the more, raw material, second degree of raw material kind of thing. The finished goods are not moving by trains, like TVs or refrigerators or washing machines or components for electrical manufacture. They're not going by trains because, number one, the speed, number two, the safety. So if you have something like a parcel train leaving Chennai every day at an appointed time, like your Vande Bharat train to Bangalore or Mysore, you will definitely get custom for this. All you have to do is to tie up the end, the last mile connectivity has to be tied up. Then you will have a very viable freight movement by Vande Bharat. See, that is why, this Vande Bharat ecosystem is taking the country to the next level of thought. See, I'm very sure that when Vande Bharat becomes the norm for travel, when we have this 25 into 2 kV, Malya will talk about it. See, the juice that is coming now on the contact wire is not adequate to run too many Vande Bharats one after the other, because your maximum demand on the grid is quite considerable. So in order to maximize the amount of electricity which is in the contract wire, we have to upgrade into 25 kV into 200. So that is one of the plans, right, Malya? That's what you talk about it.
So on all these routes where you will have all the trains are running at 160, what Anantraman sir was telling is going to happen, because all these trains are highly power intensive. So they draw maybe 1.5 to 2 times the power of a normal train. So the voltage starts dipping. When the voltage dips beyond a certain level, the propulsion system shuts off, the grid starts tripping. So 2 into 25 kV conversion is going to happen if you have to switch over to 160. And some of the identified routes, it is already happening. It means a lot of extra investments. That 2.5 lakh crores which I was mentioning, part of it is going for things like 2 into 25 kV.
Does Vande Bharat have also, like the other coaches, you have a brake van? Or if not, can it be possible to consider that so that you can have a better rate matrix price point to increase your revenues?
Brake van for guard, for luggage space.
Like other trains, you have a brake van, to carry your luggage like that. But in this sophisticated, why can't you also consider
parcels? We'll have to compromise on the passenger space. So in a coach, if you are in the last coach, we carry, I think, 58 passengers. If we knock off 25 seats, we can do what you are telling us. So you are right, maybe that will give you a better earning.
Yes.
But I think sir will support.
See, actually, I'll come to this point. You see, what the Vande Bharat culture or the ecosystem or the paradigm is going to usher in. I mean, this is my theory. You're going to have a group of travelers who are just going to carry a valise. See, as per law, Indian Railway Act, you have to provide a brake van to help a passenger to carry his luggage. If he chooses not to carry it on his person, you are legally bound to provide a brake van. That's why it's called brake van. That being the case, but that will become infructuous with this Vande Bharat culture, where you just travel with light. You travel light, like you go by an airplane. So today the Vande Bharat ecosystem is not competing with trains; it's competing with air.
Curious question is like, it's such a splendid story, so much facilities, such attractive trains. Why is the road not leaking? Why do we hear that trains are going empty?
No, the trains are not all going empty. Some trains are going empty, but sir, with I would like to submit that I have been running trains on Southern Railway for the last 15 years. Last 15 years of my life, I was running trains. The interesting point, case in point, the Tanjavur Coimbatore Jan Shatabdi. We introduced this train first from Coimbatore to Tanjavur. We didn't regularize it because the occupancy was very poor. So, every 3 months, the railway board will ask me, do you want this train to be extended or not? I'll tell them, no, please, let's extend it. Then there came a point when the worm became a butterfly. We changed the direction from Tanjavur to Coimbatore because people were going from Tanjavur to do business in Coimbatore. The train became such a popular one, you can't get tickets on it. So everything requires, a certain time for fruition. So sorry, you wanted to ask a question. Excuse me, let him please finish. I'll come to you next.
One of the stated goals of airlines in India, at least of the Civil Aviation Ministry, is to make airline travel cheaper than first-class train travel. So now, with Vande Bharat being so efficient, how much, do you have a stated goal likewise to draw passengers away from airline travel and bring them actually to travel by train?
See, I was involved in the introduction of the first Shatabdi from Chennai to Mysore. See, at that time, the general manager and I, we went to meet all the consulates and told them, look, we are introducing Bangalore is a very important center for all the consulates. So we said, please start using this train. So instead of, taking a flight. Now, I think it's a no-brainer with the kind of surge pricing that airlines are doing. See, the Indian Railway is a very fair organization. Not FARE, FAIR. See, we don't increase the price when demand goes up. We give you a constancy of price. So you will automatically find people gravitating to Vande Bharat. It is an absolute certainty that Vande Bharats, the way they are going, now there are 50 services on 25 routes. The fastest train is achieving an average speed of 96 kilometers. See, when I was in charge of passenger transportation, Mr. Velu was then the minister, he used to ask me, what is it you are saying that your maximum permissible speed is 110 kmph, but your average speed is 55? Because your super fast trains, anything above 55, you charge super fast fare. He said, why is it half? It's precisely because of the speed restrictions and stops. Today, this biggest constraint is made into a strength by Vande Bharat, by its fast acceleration and deceleration. That is where please.
Does it have any import content in the Vande Bharat Express?
Sir, the wheels and axles are imported from Ukraine and China. So that also now railways have given an order on a company called Titagad Wagons and in partnership with a company called Ramakrishna Forgings. So we are hoping that forged components will be able to become self-sufficient. Today, as such, on the Vande Bharat, 87% is indigenous, 13% is imported.
Where do you source the disc brakes?
Where do you
source the brakes? The disc brake.
Disc brakes are sourced. They are actually made Make in India. Under Make in India, they are from our land only. So there is a foreign technology involved.
Yeah.
And we are taking.
I'll tell
it.
you, there are two companies which supply us brakes, Canor Bremse and Favely Transportation. They both have manufacturing facility in India. So the disc per se comes from India, but the electronics comes from Europe,
See,
China.
most of the cars have these disc brakes. I mean, it is definitely it is much higher strength that is required in the case of rails.
Trains.
But I am trying to ask. That's what I was asking you, whether it is the friction metal which is most important, and there is one back plate on which the friction metal is molded. Whether that is being imported, or from what you say, I gather that some importation takes place where whatever supply you mentioned, and they do a jointing of this and hand it over to you to fit on your assembly. Okay.
What is the future plan in terms of the present population, 140 crores, 20 years from down the line, compared to existing your infrastructure and the travel number of trains? Will it meet the demand of the growing population of future? What is the path for that roadmap?
See, any transportation capacity is a vanishing bottleneck. You have the neck of the bottle, no? You keep increasing the capacity down below, you can never escape the bottleneck. You will only be chasing it. So we are not in the happy position where we can create supply or capacity ahead of demand. Then that will become an uneconomic proposal. Yes, there will be always, we'll be following that graph, but the way we are expanding the network, the way we are adding to the rolling stock and the motive power, we will see to that the Indian Railways will remain the lifeline of the nation.
Just one point.
You talked about the cost factor, but you did not give the numbers. I would like to know how cost competitive you are when it comes to manufacturing a similar product, say in any other country. You said Chile is one of the countries which is kind of showing interest. So give some kind of an indication.
Okay. I'll give you the example of a metro coach, which is compared to the Vande Bharat in terms of the ambience inside, it is at a much lower scale. A metro car, one coach of the metro today costs about 10 crores. The Vande Bharat, for a 16 coach train, the cost is 110 crores. So you can decide whether the Vande Bharat makes economic sense. Export order needs a bit of canvassing. Fair. Okay, I'll just supplement what sir said. See, some routes the patronage is poor. Trivandrum Kasaragod Vande Bharat has an occupancy of 180%, which means people get down. So one seat is used 1.8 times in a trip. And this is true for the Bombay Ahmedabad Vande Bharat. So maybe with a tweaking of the timings or maybe selecting another route, it can be made profitable.
The experience traveling in Tejas Express, actually the sliding doors inside the coaches actually was not functioning at all, and like only going from Chennai to Madurai, only at Trichy point some engineers could enter and do something. So the AC effect was zero. Hope this is taken care in Vande Bharat and other trains.
It is taken care of.
It was very pitiable.
See, there the problem was we had a issue with water leaking into the door control circuit.
That's what. Yeah. And it didn't improve at all for months together.
Now it is sorted out. On the Vande Bharat, the doors always work. In fact, the doors are at times abused because in India, you would have seen people who come at the last minute.
Yes.
Then they'll give their luggage to somebody inside. So the catering fellow will hold the door and allow you to come inside. So the door wants to close, but people don't allow it to close. And so one day that problem is not there.
Even the safety after this Odisha incident.
So there we had an issue because of water leakage, sorted out now.
Why are we... Can you finish it? Okay.
In terms of numbers, the requirement for replacing all premium trains with Vande Bharat is so high that ICF's capacity will not be adequate. So railways will be capitalizing on the manufacturing capacity in coach factories at Kapurthala. Then we have a factory in Raebareli. There is a factory in Latur. There is a factory in Sonipat. Okay. So all these places will be used for producing Vande Bharat trains.
Regarding your question about platform, see, platform allocation is a dynamic thing which is determined by the size and the length of the train. So, if it is 24 coach length, then the platform which is capable of accommodating this. So, what would logically happen is Vande Bharat Express would sort of go into a line platform which has a capacity of about 16. If there's only 8 coaches, then it will probably go into the shortest platform because that will be the optimum utilization of platform capacity.
Sir, one question I had was about.
Is there any reason why the Vande Bharat trains will not operate at night, overnight, let's say, between two city pairs?
Chair car may not be attractive for night travel.
No, but
Once the sleeper comes, yes.
Yeah, no, aircraft fly overnight and people travel.
Maybe we have not thought along those lines here.
No, and I think, the point is today we have sufficient viable daytime operable points. So you first exhaust that and then probably, you could sort of introduce a overnighter to Madurai or, Coimbatore. I'm sure the analogy that you pointed out about airlines or buses for that matter, I think it will work out.
Sir, in an overnight journey, speed may not be a consideration. In fact, if a 200-kilometer journey takes 6 hours, you're okay with it. So that you go to sleep at 11 in the night, get up at 5 in the morning.
No,
So
Chennai,
a premium
Hyderabad.
service, yes, I think that's a great idea, sir.
Chennai, Hyderabad, overnight.
Yeah.
We can do a passenger survey, find out whether there would be sufficient patronage for this type of service.
So,
that can be looked at.
AC chair cars used to be on Tamil Nadu Express.
Yes.
And they were all full. I have traveled in one of those. So
30 hours journey, chair cars.
Can you have just one more question or maximum 2 more?
Yeah, sir, I had a question here.
Can I? Okay. Hi, I have a small question. See, if we take the cost of ownership, we have to brilliant talk on coaches and rakes and production, etc. Very happy to know. But don't we need to invest also into transformers, supply lines, power, stations, tracks, retrain people, signaling, safety? A lot more investments are required. Is that right?
Sir, partly answered by Anantraman, sir. See, the signaling system he already talked about, switch over to automatic signaling and at a later date Kavach. That is already part of the 2.5 lakhs. Yeah. Finally, cab signaling. Cab signaling means every section has a speed code. So if the driver tries to go beyond the speed code, brakes will automatically be applied. Tracks we are investing. We are going in for heavier sections of rail. It used to be 52 kgs per meter. Now it is 60 kgs. The axle loads will go up to 25 tons. On the electrical side, he already mentioned it, 2 into 25 kV. All these things are happening on high density freight routes and on routes where you have a lot of these premium trains to be operated. Because the electrical loading goes up either because of the weight being more or because of faster trains which draw more power.
And fencing also.
160 kilometers per hour. Why do you need fencing? Mr. Buffalo.
See, this interesting point. I mean, have any of you heard of something called the Leibovitz hypothesis? The Leibovitz hypothesis says that any big object is very deceptive regarding its speed. When a big object moves, you cannot gauge its speed. This is the reason why so many cars meet with accidents in unmanned level crossing gates. It's also the reason why elephants and buffaloes come into the path of trains. They are not able to gauge the speed of the train.
Yes, sir. One maximum, 1 or 2. Yeah.
Sir, the first metro train to Calcutta was supplied by ICF. But now ICF has developed itself into an international level. Then why we are going for metro trains to G and Korea? Why ICF cannot make it?
Sir, I'm happy to inform you that we are making trains for Calcutta Metro in this production year. But again, capacity constraint because there is a limit to the number of self-propelled DPRS coaches, that is distributed power rolling stock, that you can produce. So part of the load has to be taken by the private sector.
Yeah. Last question. Yeah, last.
180% capacity utilization. Can you explain?
See, suppose there is a journey from point A to point B. One is one passenger travels end to end. Second is, suppose a chap travels from Trivandrum to some place in between, gets down there, Ernakulam.
Then Ernakulam to Trichy. So
So
these are called the legs of travel. So when each leg is fully utilized, it becomes one into.
So three people using that 700 kilometer stretch is equal to 300% occupancy for that particular seat.
And because
So
of
average
the
out
telescopic fare, we will also get advantage. If end-to-end fare is 1,800, in this we will get 2,600.
And in Kerala, trains are very popular because I think the roads, there are some constraints. Roads are unsafe.
Kerala is the only
People
state
prefer
which has a minister for railways.
So can we?
See, the Vande Bharat experience is a big wow factor from entry to exit. But why can't railways integrate with the local platform to have a last minute connectivity? Because Vande Bharat to the next connectivity is straight from heaven to hell.
So can we take further questions offline? The gentleman will be here for some more time if you don't, because generally we like to. Okay, last quickly, half a second.
The night train, need not be a whole night train. It can be off night. Whatever Chennai to Coimbatore, 6 o'clock evening you start, 11:30 you drop there. Then 12:30 you start, again 6 o'clock you drop in Chennai. So that is possible. However, you can say.
No, it is already happening. For instance, the Chennai-Trivandrum train, which leaves at 15:30 hours, reaches Coimbatore at 8 o'clock. So this is already happening in various legs, in various trains. So the concept is already proven.
Whole night train, need not be whole night, off night train.
It's already happening.
It's there. Okay. I thought the best way to conclude is to not give a concluding remarks, but I got a very interesting WhatsApp message 1 hour back. I'm just reading it. It will just take exactly 30 seconds. I am Subedar. Yesterday I had to go to Delhi from Jabalpur for an official assignment. It was raining cats and dogs in Jabalpur. The AC coach I boarded looked as if it enjoyed the newly hit rain. Within no time, I was completely saddled with cold and cough. I booked a medical emergency with the help of Rail MADAD app. Rail Madad. Cough was in no mood to stop and it continued unabated. It attacked me so severely that I suffered the entire night, or I thought I was going to suffer the entire night, and I was unable to sleep. Honestly speaking, there was no hope for me that night. I cursed the monsoon under the blanket. But to my surprise, at the next station, a doctor came to my berth, checked me, gave me medicines. Medicine was free of cost. I only had to pay 100 rupee consultation fee to the doctor. I am sharing this experience to everyone to only know how Indian Railways functions today. We don't have to make any concluding remarks. Excellent feedback to these two gentlemen, so passionately, who actually, they conducted a classroom session on Vande Bharat. It's an outstanding experience, and it's going anyway on YouTube. Others will watch it later. But thank you so much, sir, for sparing your valuable time. Both are very experienced, seasoned railway hardcore gentlemen who have brought to bear their experience about Vande Bharat. And thank you, everybody, for participating in large numbers. Thank you very much. Yeah, please.